So thank you for the opportunity. I'm really happy to be here representing my organization, Trax, and talking to you about how to scale up your store execution with real-time shelf data. But before I get started, I want to show you two photos. One is that of a perfectly executed shelf. Now you see all of the products are properly executed right where it's supposed to be. It's visually appealing and really draws the customer inside, right? But more often than not, you have a situation where there's improper execution, products are missing on shelf, and there's a lot of loss of sales, right? And I'm sure that's a common challenge that's faced by a lot of leaders in the room today. Let me tell you, you're not alone. We've heard this a lot from our clients across the globe, specifically in APAC. CPGs and retailers don't have access to real-time shelf data that can help make strategic business decisions. And the scope of this can vary anywhere from having no data at all, that is being absolutely clueless about shelf reality, to having a plan in place, but not really being able to execute, not being able to scale up across multiple markets. And I'm sure you know that there is a huge opportunity for improvement at the shelf. So research shows that there's around 4% of annual sales loss because of improper execution in store. 62% of execs say that they don't have enough data to make decisions on. 40% of the trade marketing team says that there's no return on investment on what they put into the stores, right? And all of these problems existed even before COVID. And this was further exacerbated by supply chain issues, inability to get people into stores, and so on. So one of the key players, our key partners, was facing the same issue. And that's Hindustan Unilever. I don't really have to give too much of an introduction to them. They've been in the market for almost 90 years, across 50 brands, across 20 categories. And they had the same problem. They had a plan in place, but they could not really scale up and control their execution across stores. So we came in and we helped them out. So what I'll do is walk you through what they wanted to define in store, what were the challenges they faced, how did Trax help them out, and what is the value and what is the benefit they got out of it? So Hindustan Unilever, as you know, is all across India, modern trade and general trade. But specifically for this, they wanted to focus on modern trade. That's primarily because it was the fastest growing channel for them across hypers and supermarkets, with almost 26% value add in metro cities, right? And this was compounded by the fact that this 35% of millennial population in India, rising disposable incomes. And the research shows that the new consumption pattern over the next decade is going to shift upwards in the income tier. And also, when Unilever looked at it, they said, yeah, I have 70% engagement in general trade, but modern trade is where a consumer can actually touch and purchase a product. You don't have someone in between handing a product for you across the counter, right? So what they wanted to do was they wanted to leverage the digital explosion in India. They wanted to leverage the people's need for experience and convenience. And they wanted to have a system in place where they can bring products as close to people as possible in a very smooth, streamlined fashion. Now, in such a situation, it's essential that execution becomes key to success. That is the mantra. So what they did is they defined something called the picture of success, or PICOS, which is on 3 core sales levers, which is availability, visibility, and brand experience. And it's across the 4 Ps or the 6 Ps of marketing, which is product, place, promotion, and proposition. For them, the core was to ensure products are on the shelf, irrespective of what happens. They should not be out of stocks. They should have the right core range or right must-stock list in store over weekdays, weekends. They want to ensure there's adequate visibility into store by ensuring there's enough share of shelf. And they also want to drive brand engagement and brand experience by ensuring that they have unmissable designs, assets, POS materials deployed into the store. Now, like I said, they have a plan in place. Right? This is what they wanted to do. But in order to really benchmark where they are, move up one step, you need data. And as you know, getting data is difficult. So what they did is they have a system of auditors who go into stores, and they use pen, paper, Excel files, and even measuring tapes to really see how much of shelf space is occupied by Unilever. And as you can imagine, it's a very labor-intensive task. It's usually 3 to 4 hours per store, depending on the size of hypermarket, supermarket, like for example, Lulu, for example. And the data is extremely inconsistent. Think about it, you're talking about hundreds and thousands of auditors who go in and they measure like they want to. So there's no consistency in data. And also the data that you get is not really trustable because there's no clear audit trail of how the data came about. I could forge the data if I have to, and then just present it back to Unilever. So all of these challenges were there with them, right? And this was further complicated by the spread of the company itself. It's across north, south, east, and west of India, multiple territories, markets, each of them having different promotions depending on what religious function would happen, what season of the year it is, and so on. And it's also across 3,000 stores and around 2,000 users. So you can see the scale of the problem of collecting this data was massive. So that's where Trax comes in. So Trax is a leading provider of computer vision and analytic solutions for retailers. So what we're able to do is simply convert a shelf image, a shelf photo, into actionable insights. We're able to recognize every single product on the shelf and generate data insights for any customers that we have. And the way the value proposition goes is they are able to drill down right from store, shelf, and even to SKU level data. And this can help them drive growth, reduce costs by improving their execution in store. So how does it work? How did we do this for Unilever? So it's a simple 3-step process. One is collection. As the name implies, it's collecting images because that forms the raw data or the basis for which we do image recognition. So we gave the ability to product consultants, who are essentially people deployed to hyper supermarkets to take care of products, stock products on shelf, and also to engage with customers. They were given the ability to take photos with the Trax app. This photo is then uploaded to our system where it undergoes a process called digitization, where we recognize every single product and we are able to generate sales KPIs. So if you remember the previous slide, we are able to tell them what products are available, what is out of stock, what is share of shelf, what the promotion looks like. And then this raw data then becomes the basis for insights. So insights can be as granular as they want it to be, or it can be even at a helicopter view that depending on who's looking at the data, right? So we are able to present that data to both the people in store, directly on the mobile app itself, and also through portals so that the people at the headquarters level can go through it. So this 3-step process was implemented with, when we started working with Unilever. So how did both of us, both partners, go about defining what they wanted to do, right? So we built a 4-step process. First of all is to define what were the objectives that they wanted to achieve, which goes back again to the 4 Ps. Then it's about executing all of these changes in store with the help of the product consultants. And the third is to measure those data points. And we were the ones who helped them measure those data points. And essentially what that helps is we are able to feedback all of this into a single harmonious feedback loop, which then continuously helps them to address any gaps that they have on shelf. So when we initially started the discussion with Unilever, we understood that there are 4 core pillars that need to be in place to ensure that the project was a success. One is, of course, to understand this is an organization change movement. It's not a small project on the side. It has to have proper guidelines flowing down from management, and we did have management support for Unilever. So they were able to really set the value proposition for every single stakeholder in the organization, which really helped both of us define the end goal where we wanted to achieve. The next is in terms of focused onboarding and training. So again, if you think about it, those hundreds of thousands of auditors who are on pen and paper Excel files, now you're asking them to take photos of the shelf. So that is something that we had to onboard. We worked with them and helped them train and get things done. Right? The next is inputs. So as you can imagine, the quality of a system, the output of the system, depends on input. So we are able to measure the quality of the photos that were taken, how many photos were taken, how often do these product consultants take these photos, and then we were able to feedback that to Unilever. So we had the great thing was we had a very good partner with them, So we were able to have a continuous flow and exchange of ideas, which really helped both of us out. So what did Unilever get out of all of this? So they were able to transition the auditing from the auditors to the product consultants in store, which means that they were, first of all, directly able to scale up to more than 3 times the amount of stores that they were tracking. They also were able to save time by almost 66%. They were able to cut short the audit time by 2 hours because you don't have to go run around with your measuring tapes anymore. You just have to take a photo. So you use that extra 2 hours to sell in store. You can negotiate with your retailer. You can speak to your customers and get more engaged with them. So we had the power is handed back to them instead of wasting time really looking at measuring what is not really important. And the last is, of course, the data that we provide is trustable. It has a clear audit trail. Every insight you get is from an image. And this image is made available to all our stakeholders in a clear and transparent fashion. So like I said, we had a good buy-in from management, so we were able to really define the value proposition across the organization. And the data that we provide was useful for every step, right from management, even up to the field team, or the sales team on the ground. Now, if you talk about specific function groups within Unilever, we're talking about account management and commercial teams. So they were able to just sit in their headquarters, look at every single store, every shelf and SKU. They were able to identify if there were execution gaps, distribution issues, supply chain issues, and then they could fix, they could focus on the key problem statement in specific areas, regions, and they were able to fix that. They could even use that in discussions with retailers when you have your quarterly, biannual, or annual discussions. So that was their key value proposition for these 2 teams. It really helped the marketing team as well, because now they have access to see how many stores have their new products been released to. When did they hit the market? What ROI did they get from it? They're also able to track what promotions were there in store and how well those promotions helped drive footfall and convert that into purchase. And like I said, it's from management even to the ground level. So in terms of the ground, I'm talking about the sales team, who are essentially the field force. Right? So they are able to get the data on the application itself. So they take the photo, they get the results in a few minutes, and what they see is gaps, any execution gaps. There are certain products, X number of products out of stock. They're able to see that on their mobile reports. And with that, they get the power to really stock up on shelf. Now, there are cases where they might not have the authority to do that. In such cases, what they do is they can still talk to the retailer and kind of intimate them about a possible out-of-stock situation. This can also be used to monitor the overall health of the whole project itself, because we have our system metrics and reports. So as you can see, the whole data set that we have is usable across the entire value chain. And in a sense, what happened was Trax became the one source of shelf truth for Unilever. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Renju Zachariah. I'm Account Management Director for APAC. Please feel free to scan our QR code because this is our latest offering for our CPG customers. Please do visit our booth down the hall. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any reason why you never considered in-store cameras as opposed to taking photographs separately?
Yeah, good question. So for our side, we want to address the 3 pillars of retail: CPG, retailers, and shoppers. So what you're talking about is primarily retailer focused, and we are working on a solution where you're using fixed cameras, dome cameras that's already deployed. That's something that we are working in one of the regions in APAC, and we're looking for partners to expand into the other markets as well. So it is in place. We have a solution in place for that. Thank you.